You're listening to Zen and the Art of Endurance, your podcast for getting great at going long.
Well, hey there, all you endurance freaks and geeks, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Endurance, the podcast where we go long and learn a lot about ourselves along the way. All right, we're leaving the house to go to work. I actually had the morning off and swam in the backyard pool, which I'll talk about in a second. And also there's a video clip of that on the Instagrams and maybe the YouTubes. I'm Zen Triathlon on Instagram and Zen Endurance on YouTube, so go check that out. Loading in my lunch and my drinks here into the truck. And today's episode is actually super cool because it is the audio companion to, an hour and a half of, or maybe even a little bit more, of biking and running out there in the Texas countryside. An evening gravel ride and a morning run with River, my big black German Shepherd, where we talk about, I got all the bangs and dings going on here, where we talk about how to start becoming an endurance monk, which I think means how to train with focus and simplicity and seriousness so well that it's like at a really high level, and there's our low fuel light. And also while we're out there, we on the bike ride, we look at houses because we might move out to the countryside. Kai's out of the house and we have a 4-bedroom house, and we do not need a 4-bedroom house. And it's gone up in value a lot. So we could actually maybe move out to the countryside. That's difficult to do, so we'll see. We're talking about it. And yeah, so that's part of the bike ride. I'm out checking out houses and such. And then, so that's good to go check out. Anything that you're listening to on this, or I'm on the bike of the run, and you're like, what is he talking about? I get chased by some dogs and stuff like that. You can go and see what that looks like. I'm back on the geared bike. I think the video is called Oh My Geared. I'm back on the geared bike with some new aero bars and trying to figure out the grip situation. And let's see, what else? Let's talk about, first, support the show if you can. This show takes a ton of time and money, mostly time, which is money, as we know. And you can go to patreon.com/C, I believe that means for creator, and then /Zentry, because that's what I was under whenever I created the site. And it's $4 a month. And you get to help work on all this stuff with me. And I'll look for some products to give everybody back. And definitely I'm giving you back as much as I can with knowledge from 20, 30 years of triathlon and endurance sports stuff. Email me at texifornia@gmail.com if you have questions you want me to answer on the show. I want to move to that format where I'm reading off questions and answering them on the show. Anything to do with Zen, Buddhism, training long distance, how I did in races and such, things like, have I ever DNF'd? Have I ever run anything longer than 100 miles? What's my marathon time? What would I use to fuel for this, that, and the other? Send in your questions, and I want to move to that format on the show where I'm answering more questions and sharing knowledge with everybody. And then, don't forget to support the show at patreon.com/C/Zentry. And that's it. All right, let's get on the bike. Let's go. Well, hey there, all you freaks and geeks, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Endurance. We're about to head out on a gravel bike ride out in the countryside. We're going to talk about some Zen and Buddhist topics and also relate them to endurance. How can you become an endurance monk? And also how to not lose your train of thought. I'm already pretty relaxed. This is going to be great. Oh, we're going to look at houses in the countryside. So let's see. I got the Vario radar and the camera remote, Garmin. But anyway, it's going to be getting dark as we finish up. So I've got light blue sunglasses to protect my eyes mostly from wind and debris. And then I can still see as it gets dark. And I think that's about it. So, we're back on gears, and no power meter pedals today, but we'll talk about all that in a little bit. Let's get riding. All right, let's hop on and go. You can hear that click as we get going here. We're gonna do a nice hour and a half. The battery on the camera won't last that long, so don't worry. You'll be all right. And yeah. Check this out. What we're going to do is a lot more video and pauses between the talking to have the ASMR, and then I don't have to edit so much video to get a show out. But yeah, what I want to talk about today is always about how to go longer with ultra distance, how to keep things simple, and the gear I use to do it. And what time is it? It's about 6:40. We got a strong headwind as we escape the neighborhood here. Pretty soon we'll be out on dirt roads. Last time I got chased by a dog was pretty good, so that's a lot of fun, and might catch that on video. And we're going to take an extra little loop to look at houses in the countryside, because you never know. Might want to move further out into the countryside and enjoy it a little bit more. Can't cling to things for too long. So I kind of want to start a new show topic called How to Become an Endurance Monk. And honestly, it comes from watching British Buddhist monk on YouTube, and he answers questions, and it's so simple, and his presence is so, I don't know, it's like really, he just really does it right, you know, in a way that is simple for us to replicate here. Which way was the wind blowing from? We cut off the camera and the mic while we're headed right into the headwind, and then come back when it's not as bad. How about that? I can see a flag over there. We got crosswind. So yeah, we'll be right back. Okay, I actually don't want to record this part, but it's the most dangerous part of my ride. Very short, but it can be high traffic and aggressive drivers right through here. And after I started videoing with a camera, I was like, man, this is really cool just to have in case you need evidence of somebody doing like vehicular assault, trying to run you off the road or something. we'll make it to the stop sign without really... Well, no, we got somebody trying to pass us before the stop sign. On a double line. That's cool. You do you. And then I pass them back. Whatever. Countryside rules apply here. There's hardly any cars. We kind of do what they want. Apparently. Of course, it's all fine and dandy until there's an accident. That's why they call it an accident. Okay, I think we're clear back. Or clear enough back. Got an extra lane, we'll be good. All right, right turn Clyde onto some gravel. Looks like about a minute faster than single speed. It adds up to about right. Over 4 hours ends up being 20, 30 minutes. Yeah. So what I'd like to do is start a little series, see if it goes somewhere, with compiling with y'all's input, y'all because we're in Texas, on what it takes to become an ultra endurance athlete, but monk style. That was very 70s and 80s Kung Fu theater right there. And I got the idea and inspiration from watching this guy. And you don't have to get infatuated with him. I'll do it for you. I've watched hours and hours and hours, well, listened actually mostly, of his talks. And he's really interesting because he comes from a normal Western background, where he had a job. I even found out after a while he had kids, and in his 40s left the UK to become a full-time monk, but only after living on the seashore, the British seashore, in a van for 3 years, I think. And it's one of these classic examples of like, yeah, what does this guy really know? And then he answers questions and you're like, wow, this is pretty great. Pretty good stuff. And because it's British and we're American, his accent sounds very educational and calming. So it's all around good stuff. But anyway, if y'all would send in comments and questions, I'll answer them for you on the show, and we can have a similar environment, but on the bike. And we're about to have a major downhill with so that's where that guy lives. Jesse Thomas Road, famous triathlete. How's it going? He looked at me like I was insane, because we got cameras. Okay, we're gonna go downhill, and it's hard to hear, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause. So what we can do is create like a big document, a library, a Wikipedia of not just how to become an ultra endurance athlete, but how to do it the Zen way with simplicity. And let's go ahead and get started. Repetition. So you need big volume, and also a low heart rate. So you need calmness while you do big volume, low stress environment. No Ezekiel today, which is good because I didn't bring any carrots. Because they're old and rubbery. And the fridge, I checked before I left the house. I think about Ezekiel. I think what we'll do is we'll talk about Zen stuff first. And then we'll talk about bike stuff second. Little non-related philosophy second. Like, what the hell are these on my aeroboard? Come for the Zen, stay for the gear tips. So, he's a really great example of how to let go of yourself and ego. We got a runner out here. Check this out. Surprise. How's it going? Oh yeah, we're supposed to be looking at houses. Now we're really starting to hit the countryside. So you have to do big volume to become an ultra distance athlete. There's really no way around it. We've had this whole thing where people like CrossFit people, you know, running a 100-miler with hardly any running background. There's a kid that was like 20 or something who did an Ironman with hardly any training. Oh, some guy just did a marathon. Pretty much to annoy his wife with almost no training. And yeah, you could do that stuff, you know, but you're miserable while you're doing it. Or you could learn to fall in love with most of the training. I mentioned earlier today on an Instagram post, a comment that actually the one part about training I don't like is getting started, and ironically, the pool. Start swimming. I don't like getting in the cold water, and it feels cold at first. Personal preference of mine. But that's what we're always working on. It's getting rid of personal preferences in Zen. Okay, we're gonna have headwind for a little bit, so I'll come back when we turn around on this road. You know what? I changed my mind because we got dogs. There they come. And screw it, you get the wind. Those things chased me for like a mile last ride. And except for them being in the road, it was actually quite funny. Except one of them's pretty serious. So yeah. To do big volume, you also have to let go of the ego of wanting to be fast all the time. And that's the big inhibitor to getting in big volume. Where people plateau out is at good amateur, because they go, you hear this a lot, they go too hard too often. And actually, what you're supposed to do is easy, and then on occasion go hard. And you got to go so easy that you can actually recover. It's almost like a recovery ride between the easies. Got our little hill climb here. And now we have gears. We can actually use them. But the problem is you want car back out here. Holy crap! It's a dead end too. Is you want to not chase numbers of your best times. The comparing mind, you're saying, well, I usually average this speed, or I usually average this power, or whatever, minute, mile, kilometers per hour for you, Canadian. And then for the rest of the world. And so to become an endurance monk, you take that crap off your bike computer. Now, Buddhism always teaches middle path. So extremes are not good. The guy, and he was a guy that became a Buddha, grew up really rich, and then when he's a young adult, decided this is crap. And then he did, I think, 6 years of near starvation. And that was a thing at the time. This is 2,500 years ago. Oh, look, I can gear down. Oh, my brake. Oh, my God, that sounds terrible. Got to burn whatever's off of those brakes. Talk to our local bike shop, Hero Kai. And they'll tell me what to do. Hold a lighter to the disc rotor, things like that. Burn off the crap. No, to the pads? I don't know. He'll tell us. That's a question we could have answered. So, bike computers are definitely handy. In training, it's kind of counterintuitive. What I found is when I had average miles per hour, I was always trying to match this average miles per hour of, what I knew I could do when I felt good. Well, that's one of your days when you're like feeling really amped. So that would be a good day for doing intervals. But the rest of your days aren't like that. You got like 2-3 days like that a week at most. If you're training properly, which most people aren't. And sorry folks, I have asthma and I have to go off the meds every once in a while to allow my body to recover, just like training. So sometimes I'm a little bit out of breath until my body gets warmed up. I moved to Texas when I was 9 and missed the window of where you develop immunity or non-sensitivity to all the pollen in this area. And wham, developed asthma allergies, like really bad. Years and years of swimming in a chlorinated indoor pool, high school, didn't help either. Here comes our dog friends, I bet. Oh, they're on the next hill. So, with bike computer, what's actually handy is power and average power, and then you reset it every once in a while for like lap power. Like 30 minutes, an hour at a time, before you kind of meet up with the same elevation again. You don't want to do average power for just uphill for a long time, because your power will be higher, artificially higher, because you're climbing that hill. But keeping your most days you want to keep your power below like an average and keep yourself, especially at the beginning, from going too hard. And in a race,
definitely in a race, especially triathlon, because you got to run when you come off the bike. And if you don't have power, heart rate's a good one too. Except towards the end of a rise, you get dehydrated, your heart rate will start to go up artificially because your blood's getting thicker and your heart has to pump harder and more frequently. Here we go. Here come the dogs. I see them running. Oh, yeah? I got gears this time, buddy. I kind of want them to give up before we hit the road here. There we go. The power is the work. Heart rate is your body's reaction to the work. So they're not exactly, heart rate's not exactly, but you use them together is actually the best way to do it, right? Getting closer to the area where we want to look at houses. So average speed, current speed, max speed, all useless for training. Almost 100% of the time. And those will get you in trouble because you'll try to match them from other rides. And you're not racing, you're training, you know? That stuff is best left to look at Strava or Training Peaks. By the way, I'm a coach. Hit me up at texifornia@gmail.com. Texifornia@gmail.com for all your coaching needs. And, you know, then look at it. You should really, this is a, really be training by feel and keeping it easy, and honestly by heart rate too, you know, and like just keeping it easy. And then you go back and look at what was your average pace, what was your average speed. You go, oh, look, I was faster and stuff. If you're training outdoors, I mean, it can vary so much because of wind and humidity and air temperature. The air's thicker when it's colder. The gear you're using, tire pressure you were at, shoes you were wearing, all kinds of wacky stuff. Pavement ends. On the aero bars, I try to remember to put water up here so if it dribbles on stuff, it doesn't get everything all sticky. I keep the fuel down low. It crossed my mind to use maple syrup again. That stuff's so cool because when it gets on your handlebar stuff, maple syrup doesn't get sticky. It rinses right off with water. It's really odd, cool chemistry to it that does that. So then you might say, well, we should get rid of the bike computer altogether and don't ride with it. Well, the bike computer is really handy. Let you know how long you've been out there. If your route happens to be like miles, and definitely in a race, you want to know how many miles you've done, so how many miles are left. Gravel's got this really cool thing where they give you the route ahead of time. We do this in Ironman now too. And then you can put the route in and it'll estimate, your bike computer can estimate how much time you have left. And time is actually the most important thing. And, you know, I got to fuel so often every so many minutes. Do I have that much fuel on me? And also, man, I got 3 more hours out here today. Should I be going this hard? Should I be doing 350 watts up this hill when I've got 3 hours left to go? Probably not. But yeah, another big question is what happens if you forget your bike computer or it dies? Well, that becomes a training moment, right? There's a I don't know what you would call him. I was about to say motivational speaker, but what do you call like a prophet, meditation kind of guy? Sadhguru, which doesn't even sound real, but he is. One time I was watching or listening to something and he said, you got to sit with your suffering, sit with your misery, sit with it, right? So what that means is you invite it in for tea, in a way. And in the mythical tales of Buddha, the devil, Mara, which is the Buddhist version of the devil, came to him and said, who do you think you are? You think you're getting enlightened? Huh? What? Let's fight. And it takes two to fight, you know, as my parents said to me and my brother. And you can invite your guest in, almost like a vampire, but to show it that you're not scared, and sit with it. And then the whole point, or one of the many points of meditation, is to just sit and realize that everything's going to be fine and how little you actually need. Okay, I think this is land for sale. And it'd probably be a big tract of land, so it's probably pretty expensive. You could afford that barn right there. I've asked those people in that nice house, can we live in your barn? And I'm like, are you crazy? I'm like, well, the British Buddhist guy, he lives in a hut on the beach in the jungle in Sri Lanka. And he's fine. It's crazy. But anyway, a lot of our fear is created in our mind. And if you actually sit with it for a little bit, you realize it doesn't bite. Like the water moccasin video that I got on a YouTube short has hit almost 400,000 views, I think, where it attacks me, sort of. But I poked at it with a stick, you know. Until I did that, it was fine. And the lesson there is cottonmouths will double back, even though they're facing away from you. They will double back the length of their body plus a bite and get you on the toe. And cottonmouths are pit vipers. They are bad news. Send you to the hospital. Might lose a leg. Might kill you. Anyway, so you're out on your training ride and your bike computer dies. Or what do you do? Yeah, oh God, I can't, I gotta turn around, I gotta go back. Or you start your ride. You're about to start your ride and your bike computer's dead. Right? You have to be able to throw on a wristwatch at most. If you have a phone, you got a clock on your phone. Start a timer or make a note of the time that you started and ride without it. Because the real training is, what are you going to do during a race or during life when your bike computer craps out on you? You're perfectly capable of doing the thing, but you think you can't, right? So when things go wrong, you actually train with it. So one of my practices is, if it's pouring rain outside, I'll ride indoors, right? But if it's like, it might not, 50-50 chance, and it's not raining at the start, I'll probably ride outside. And then, if it actually rains on me, during the ride, well, I'm already kind of warmed up and I'm going and I'm out there. And it's good training, right? Now I'm riding in the rain without a bike computer. And when I survive and I'm done and I get home, really won't think that much about it. It's type 2 fun, or they got 1.5 fun. But then on race day, when that happens, you've actually survived it before and it doesn't freak you out. I was doing a swim in a half Ironman. And there was a flash and there was a boat right next to me. And I thought they were taking a picture of me. No, it was lightning. And a storm moved in that fast. It's actually the Texas Hill Country, the area that flooded. It was many years ago though. Yeah, because seconds later I heard a boom, you know, and I'm like, and I turned and looked at the boat while I was swimming. I don't even think I stopped swimming. I just kind of, you know, as I turned my head to breathe, just looked. There was no cameraman. And for those who don't do triathlon, swims are usually a little bit dark in the morning. You start really early at the first flight, so you might see a flash of a camera. But anyway, I've been in that situation before. I used to surf off the coast of Texas. Would do it again during storm fronts, because that's when the waves are really good. Lightning crashing everywhere. For real, I'm not making that up. And yeah, you just, you know, chances are you'll be fine. It's not the smartest thing to do, but you got to ask yourself, so what, where am I going to go, you know, except to shore? And I could swim straight to shore to the side if it was right next to me. It's not. Or I just finish the swim and then get out. And we can talk about this later. Yeah. Here's a nice downhill. I got one gear that skips on this thing. Whee! downhill, got a car coming. Gonna be picking up a ton of dust. Right into a rumple strip. Need to be extra careful in case there's a car behind them that doesn't see me. Welcome to Dusty Camp. Top of this hill is a neighborhood with houses that we were half jokingly talking about, but it's like, they would be affordable. Some of them. So to recap, for your bike computer, no average speed, no top speed, no current speed. Well, I guess you could do current speed, I guess, you know, whatever. That's tempting though, to try to increase it. The way I burned myself up in training before I learned this was a little bit of water. I'd be finishing a bike ride, and let's say I'd average like 19 miles per hour. I was like on a road bike, 19 miles per hour for a long ride. And I'm like, oh, that's good. Like, you're chasing these artificial numbers, that's good. And then it's getting hotter, turn the headwind, my average starts dropping. 18.9, 18.8. Some kind of animal up here, dog. So then, yeah, you start pushing too hard to get your, you start pushing harder than you should to get, because you want to show on Strava that you average 19, you know. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Or same thing with watts, but you averaged this many watts. What I learned was, what's really cool is how fast did you go with the least amount of watts. That shows efficiency and makes you a real threat on the run, which is where stuff is won, or towards the end of the race. Okay. Let's see. There's a mobile home. This area doesn't really look like much from the street, but it's got beautiful hills that surround it. Houses are on like an acre. Real quiet. I've got a jiggle in my stem. This one's for sale, so we could use this for comparison. A new house for sale. This one too. Looks like somebody sold their land and divided it up for houses. If that house and the trees weren't in the way, it's a big view to the other side of the Brazos River. It's really pretty out here, quiet. See, that's cool. I guess this area is getting gentrified a little bit. People moving in. This subdivision is really, really old. Tearing down the old houses and putting in new ones, and then it raises gentrification. The problem is it raises the property value of people that have been living here a long time and don't have the money to pay the new taxes as the taxes go up because the property values. That's so pretty, that view. see, I got this. What happened was, let's go up this little street here. My redshift stem is old, and the elastomers in it got blown out over time. And I put new elastomers in. Imagine all this space for a dog to run. You got pine trees. It's pretty. On an acre. If you got an RV, you can park it on your own land, then use it when you want. You could buy an empty lot, put an RV on it, and build your house while you live on the lot. Something crazy people like to do. Some quiet little spots. I bet it's all subdivided, and the land without houses on it are actual lots. See, I like this. This one's cool. It's an old little house, kind of nestled up into the woods a little bit. Oh, here comes the dog. And when you live on a loop, we're going to come back out on the loop. I learned this as a kid. If you have kids, if you can, live on a dead-end street, like a cul-de-sac or a loop, and then you don't have through traffic going through really fast, and then your kid's less likely to get hit by a car. Anyway, yeah, send me a note on what. Oh, I put new elastomers in, and it's got a gap in it, so I figure I might have to take the stem apart. A redshift stem actually comes apart, and there's elastomers in it, and you tighten down something. There's even a tool, which is unfortunate. It sucks whenever you have to have a specialized tool, but redshift stems are awesome. They really work. They're incredible. But it looks like I still need to tighten down something. I replaced the elastomers, and I still got a little bit of play, and it might be my fault. All right, turning on Blue Ridge. I got a truck with a trailer towing something right at the same time that I'm going to be going fast downhill on a narrow road. You know what? I'm going to let him go by. We got time. I'm just out for a training ride. It's the cool thing about rear radar, you know. And see, there's not much road left with that. You get somebody coming around the corner fast, and I'm going fast the other way, downhill. It's what you call a pinch point, I guess. And then we could have on our, like right here, just, but he was not going to. But we could have a list of like the 4 noble truths and the 8-fold path. We could have the rules of monk ultra endurance training. It could be on there. No maximum numbers. Don't chase numbers, and then actually the numbers that people tend to chase that get them in trouble. So what you do is you just don't even show them on your bike computer. And you see that in pro racing a lot. They'll take pictures, video of pros bike setups, and they'll have black tape across certain fields so they can't even see them. You do want to record the data. See, that's the middle path. And look at it later. These are fainting goats right here. Some of them, I've heard. We're not going to test that out. But you're not out there to train your bike computer. You're out there to train your body. So if it feels too hard, it's too hard, and you need to back off a little bit. Save the too hard for race day. Keep it going when it's too hard for race day. Yeah, I want to fix that little clicky click. A little thirsty today. Got to get a blood test tomorrow, so I can't eat overnight. I'm really pissed about that. Because I went this morning to go do it after I swim, because it's really close to the swimming pool. And the swimming pool's closed for 10 days. Maybe 9 days, but I think it's 10 days. No, I think it's 10 days. And we only have one lap swimming pool in a town of 250,000 people. There's the university pool, but you got to be, effectively have to be a university student. It's insanely expensive if you're not a university student, like unbelievably expensive. So I walk up to the gate, there's nobody in the pool, I read that on the thing. And I want to be so mad at them, but that's actually been posted for a little while, so I'm also mad at myself. And it's going to be 2 hours until the blood lab opens. And I ate a little bit of a snack. You're not supposed to eat, but I was going to burn it off during the swim, so it's effectively going to be net zero. This is a little twisty right here. There's these things where you're like, it's just not, I've learned, surfing actually, with a really big wave, the big perfect wave comes in, really big. I'm like, you surf that, you may never surf again. Surf today so that you can surf again tomorrow. This corner is really dangerous with a down, kind of like that other one, but even more so. It's really a blind turn. And so unfortunately, you have to have discipline and ride the brakes a little bit through that, because it would be really fun to go through really. I've done it. I've gone through it really fast and then almost ate it into a car bumper coming the other way. There's cicadas. See the bars dip. I keep thinking they just need to be broken in, the rubber elastomers, but then I actually feel there's some slack like right there. So while we're doing that, let's talk about these. So whenever I see somebody riding aero bars without grips on the end of them, I'm like, dude, you're just asking for it. This is metal. Get slick. And so I rode that because I didn't want to take them off my other aero bars, and these are new. The last ride, I was like, yep, I'm right, it is dangerous. So I rode very carefully like that. And silicone grips, like BMX silicone grips, you just slide them over, they're incredible. And then they add actually a little cushioning, which adds a little bit of suspension. Cushioning is suspension, you know. Here's a piece of property. Empty lot. Probably $3 million. Land's gone up a lot the closer you get to campus. We're right next to Texas A&M. And this is honestly one of the prettiest parts of town. A lot of people don't know about it. And bunny rabbit. That's a Mexican cottontail. So while I got to rush out and buy silicone grips. Kind of looked up, what ones do I have on my old bike, but they're on there. I don't want to take them off, but I love them, so I want exactly those. So I spend a couple days looking around on Amazon, and then you can see on Instagram or YouTube, I posted a video. I found this in the road. It was a hawk or an owl. Just went that way, across the road in front of me. And it said, like, God's grace or God's gift. In black letters, it's neon green. It's a silicone, like, Livestrong band. Because it's neon green, if you put bright colors on the parts of your body that move the most, like your ankles and your wrists, like when you're running, and your head up high, cars are really way more likely to see you so you don't get hit. So I picked it up, rinsed it off with water, put it on. So it's sitting on my desk at home. Oh, I got a gravel suspension trick to tell y'all in a second when I get done with it. That I just did, that y'all was with my foot. It's off camera. Anyway, so I was like, I got an idea. I'll wrap it around the end of these bars and see how grippy it is. And this one was also sitting on my desk. So I did them both. This is from a Trek pride ride, like a gay pride ride. That was a gravel ride that we did a few years ago. That Emily did, Kai did. I think maybe Kai's girlfriend did it with us, part of it, like the shorter one. And it was super cool. And anyway, I grabbed a bunch of these when we were doing the ride, and there's two of them sitting on my desk at work. These actually, yeah, these are Trek. They say Trek, right? It's hard for y'all can't see it. T-R-E, Trek. And we have a Trek store in town. And in REI now. It's amazing. Every time I want to move away from here, the town gets better, and I'm like, dang it. Plus the cycling's incredible here. But anyway, I wrapped them around like triple, just to see, because it looks cool. Like the color is really pretty, and it turns out they actually work pretty good. And it's not enough. One Livestrong bracelet, and I have a Livestrong bracelet tip to give y'all. That's legit, really good tip. So, but in a second. So, I think I have two more of these rainbow ones at work. So I could move this down, put another rainbow. I got two, and then a rainbow one up here. And I got two on each side, and that might be enough. And then it's unique, when the going gets weird, the weird go pro, as they say. So when Lance Armstrong finally collapsed his own career and admitted doing all the doping, Livestrong was doomed, and the whole Livestrong bracelet thing faded. But the bracelets are not a bad idea, silicone bracelets. So all these people had all these leftover bracelets. Like, what do we do with these things? Now that our army has been beaten, what do we do with all of our weapons? But If you've got a water bottle that you do not want to lose, you want to use it later in the race. It's like your second or third fuel bottle. And say you're on a tri-bike and you got it mounted behind you, right? You can't have your eyes on it. If it drops out, you won't know it. Put the bracelet or one of these, just any like these, around the middle of the bottle, lower into the bottle. Then put it in the bottle case. You put two of them on there if you want. The amount of grip that it adds to that bottle to keep it from coming out of the cage is insane. You'll barely be able to get it out of the cage. But that's exactly what you want for a bottle that you're not going to use for a long time. I've done it forever. I use it if I have a bottle that I want to keep tools in, you know, like a false bottle. There's a horse. Hey, buddy. What's up? Then you can do that. Because your tools are way more valuable. Ride after ride after ride. You could have $100, $200 worth of tools in a bottle, I guess. That'd be a stretch, but you know, spare tubes, and CO2 cartridges, tire levers and stuff. You don't want to lose that stuff. Bike tools. And then also, I just kind of keep them around, and they pop up every once in a while still because they're not a bad idea. And so whatever motivational thing you want, and use them for things. They're essentially just giant rubber bands, which are infinitely handy for stuff. Strapping stuff down with a little bit of give. And then now, that's not a bad idea. Oh look, with gears I can actually pedal uphill at a normal RPM. Oh, it's so nice. So the downside of living out in the country is it's like this, and you think you're going to retire out here, it's going to be beautiful, and then boom, big ass shopping center or something, office park, right across the street. I hear an airplane. And I used to work for the county right out of college in the office. It's like the land management office. People would come in and they'd be like, really? And our bosses would say, there's no zoning out there. People can build whatever they want. That's why the land was so cheap. If you want to know for sure what your neighbors are going to be like, see, here's like a little pretty setup. This is so nice. And then bam, here's the rest of that shopping center office park thing. I think it's actually an A&M research site. But anyway, worst case scenario I ever saw was this old couple had retired and spent all their retirement money building this little house and whatever, and somebody next door, not even across the street, next door bought a couple acres of land or whatever and decided to build a 24-hour go-kart racing track with stadium lighting and music. And they came into the office, what do we do? Like, you really can't do anything, unfortunately. So you got to be careful. You have to become not too attached to your ideas being the best idea in the world. You could be wrong. Have a plan B. Oh, so the gravel tip I was going to give was, I was doing this with my hand. When you're going downhill on rough gravel, And your tires, and if you have some suspension wizardry, like a suspension stem or even a fork, isn't enough. You lift yourself up off your seat, your saddle, a little bit. And if this was your foot, put pressure, put one foot down all the way, one foot up, and then let your ankle flex as the bike bounces up and down. So your Achilles tendon and the top tendon of your foot, whatever that is, flex on tendon, I don't know, acts as suspension as the bike bounces up and down. And you hold on to the handlebars, but bend your elbows a little bit. And all of a sudden you've disconnected your body from the bike and you're floating. But the real cool trick of the physics is that pedal pressure that you're putting down is way below the center of gravity of the bike. It's way below the bottom bracket. I mean, it's so close to the ground. And what that does is it keeps you super stable. So if the bike starts to lose control, it's like the keel, a really heavy keel on a boat. It's going to want to keep the boat upright in rough water. And it works. It works really, really good. And then people might ask, I got carbon cranks. I don't want to bang up my cranks. The carbon cranks almost always, especially at the end, the tips, are solid carb. They're so freaking tough. It would take something amazing. I've never, hardly ever, I don't think I've ever seen the end of a carbon crank get cracked on gravel. Mountain bike is a whole other animal. We're almost to the town of Welborn. So when I did my, I need to drink some water on that and some fuel. This is 100 calories Gatorade powder, which if you do the powder, it's actually table sugar, I guess. It ain't high fructose corn syrup because it's not syrup, it's powder. And 100 calories maltodextrin powder. I bought it in bulk. Tastes real light. It's almost 90 degrees, but as the sun goes down, it's pretty nice. Let's go ahead and save a file and start a new one in case one gets corrupted. I work in IT and propane accessories. And you learn that real early in your career. Big stuff, save often, so you don't lose the entire thing. Stitch it together later. Got some cows, and we're about to hit town again. Up here on our right, it's back there in these trees covered with ivy. There's like a one room stone building that's pretty much gone now. That supposedly was the original county jail. Or somebody asked me, do they have AC? Like, no. No, this was like 1870s. This is like Tombstone. Not AC. Let's see what we got here. So right time of day, it's really quiet still. 10 years, this will all be built up. Now, what's interesting is with the gears versus non-geared, you know, you can choose how hard you want to go. And when I was I noticed when I was doing single speed, there's so much coasting built in that in a weird way, you can ride slower, but you can ride farther because there's more coasting built in. Once you learn how to climb hills and not try too hard climbing the hills and blow up. But I had to face myself at the end of that ride. The last one I did, it was on this bike actually. I just got too hot. And you come to terms with like this dark night of the soul is when you can't win against yourself, then what do you do? Because you're the enemy. And over time I had decided that this 3-mile route or 4.5 hour route was like what I had to do. Got some headwind, we'll be right back. All right, tail crosswind. Yeah, and to finish wrapping up with the Zen talk. You let go of the ego and quit trying to chase numbers. So you get rid of the numbers, quit trying to chase numbers. That's step one. How about that? And there's something interesting. Pogacar just won the Tour de France again. Oh. And there was a stage of the mountain time trial. And that's kind of like, you know, time trials, one at a time. You get your time, you know, your best time. And is my white light blinking? Yeah, I got a blinky white light. That'll help. And to reduce weight, he rode a bike with no paint. This paint adds, it's something, it's not much, but it definitely will affect your time going uphill. And by a few seconds. And that matters in this. When you ride 3 weeks and you only win by 4 minutes, seconds actually matter. Big time. But then no bar tape. And I'm like, the UCI, the governing body, is going to be like, they're going to regulate the height of your socks, but they're going to let them ride with no bar tape. These guys are very much next level, you know, but when they crash hard. When I was a kid, and up until maybe my 20s, they were still racing. The rule then was you didn't have to wear a helmet if it was an uphill stage, because the chances of you crashing at high speed. Looking behind me, make sure there's no car. When you're going uphill, yeah, you can see. You're not going as fast. And you're trying to get people to wear helmets at all, you know. So that was the middle path at the time. The middle path can change. Oh, we should have gone up on that. We'll do that next. There's a cut in with a tree up here on the right. And I saw this earlier. There's people doing some sort of run event and grabbing water as they go. while I'm totally fine with riding in the road, just for statistics' sake, and since there's nobody on this side of the sidewalk because it's not built yet, probably people are on that side because there's subdivision I live in's over there. Speaking of helmets, I've had 3 motorcycles, and I rode with no helmet like maybe once or twice. I was like, that's freaking nuts. I used to live in California, and you can split lanes between traffic, but you have to wear a helmet. I really enjoyed that because it took half an hour or so, maybe, off my commute, maybe 15 minutes off my commute by riding a motorcycle. Plus, it was fun because traffic's backed up at a stoplight. It's Southern California, San Diego traffic, and I would only split cars. That's really the only safe time to do it. It might be the law. Cars are stopped because they're at a light. You put it in first gear, so you're going like 3 miles an hour, and just roll between the cars up to the front. And because you're on a motorcycle, and motorcycles are so fast off the line, you just go. It's like no effort. So you've gone from the back of the line and possibly being at a stoplight 2, 3, 4 times before you can get through it, to just getting right in the front and go. The whole point is it alleviates traffic. It gets more people through faster, which is a good thing. All right, we're almost done. Been a nice ride. I thought I'd see more houses for sale or for rent out there. I guess in my mind, I'm comparing to the best I've seen, right? And yeah, this bike, the brakes on this bike are straight out of Compton, are straight out of doing the East Texas 400. I've actually bought extra brake pads, and I think they're in my truck. And I could actually replace some brake pads if these are worn down. Take a look at them. Look at that sunset. Isn't that pretty? Pro tip at the end, is you have to fall in love with the training. The training becomes a lifestyle. It becomes almost an escape from stress. And like we talked about, so it has to be low stress. And then it's something you look forward to. I think that rear cassette sounded loose. It sounded jiggle. I need to tighten that down. This bike was wrecked after the, it was really muddy. It rained the first day. And so half of the first day was, 60 miles of mud. It wasn't the worst mud. It wasn't peanut butter mud, but it was close. And I had 2 broken spokes, smashed derailleur, probably, there's an interesting thing, if it's wet and you're riding in sandy wet, sand will eat through your brake pads. And there's, I'll say 2, but I think there's a hybrid in between. 3 types of brake pads, but yeah, metal brake pads, those will last the longest, but then they don't feel as good. And then there's, God, what do they call it? There's some kind of synthetic brake pad. I know the name of it, I can't think of it right now. and sand will eat through those. And on the, they had a group chat going if people needed help or rescue during the race. And a lot of people were saying, hey, I need to come get picked up at mile 200, mile 300, mile 180, whatever. I went through my brake pads, and because it was wet and sandy, so the wet gets the sand in there and keeps it there and just grinds your brake pads onto nothing. And they crashed because they had no brakes left. So if you do that race or another sandy race, do the metal brake pads. All right, we are here. I'm gonna go inside and join IPA. Send me your questions and we'll start answering them on how to become an ultra endurance athlete the monk way. I think we got a fun series we can do. All right, bye. All right, morning run. We're gonna try to make this route come out to 6 miles. And I have the morning off from work. And go get a blood test done. And I actually like taking half days off from work. Sometimes more than full days. Work's very busy with lots of stuff that changes every day I need to stay on top of. And it's weird, just like right before you go on vacation, you get more done than you ever have before. When you compress an 8-hour day into 4 hours, you get more done at work and you get more done at home. It'd be really cool to see an experiment on 4-hour work days. So we'll see. All right, be right back. See how we go. It's nice and cool this morning. So. All right, we're in the office park. I have to go run the sprinkler. And it came to my mind, what did I have for dinner last night? Since I'm gonna go through the night and not eat anything, what's gonna last? Sure. Hey, come on, let's go. Oh, he really wants to check something out. I don't mind all the stopping at first because I'm still warming up too and it's slightly uphill. So if you do ultra endurance, you gotta do build your warm up into your run. Okay, come on, let's go. So anyway, for dinner, I made pasta. And then I don't like tons and tons of red sauce, so I do a mix of red sauce and olive oil, kind of like 50-50. Because olive oil is really good for you. It's the right type of fat, and it slows down the carbs. And then I didn't have any meat to add, and the upside of being a vegan, raw vegan for a year, almost a year, there's like 11 and a half months and 15 days, something, is you learn alternatives to different foods. And beans are awesome. And when I was in Boy Scouts, we learned how to cook based on flavor. You know, what goes with what. I don't know if I got shaky cam here, so I'll do my best. And I also like spicy food, and I wanted it to be a bit salty. So was it Tony Sashery's like crab boil, which is like a Cajun, but it's super salty and it's hot. It's like spicy hot. Added that. Oh, and ranch style beans and Parmesan cheese. So the beans act as meat. And after an evening gravel bike ride, which I made a long video, made an hour video, which will be coming out soon. Put all that salty, carby, healthy, fatty with olive oil all together. Was there anything else? Oh, oregano. Lots of oregano for some greens. And that's what I have for dinner. All right. Be right back. All right, now, Stellar, we got sunflowers. Look at them. Freak out the car. We turn left and see more sunflowers. I saw this thing, be a man, go to the hardware store and smell the lumber. And I was like, oh, spot something very interesting in there. Let's leave it alone. Got more sunflowers. But actually, I was recording right now to talk about, got the Amaze Fit. There's more sunflowers right there. Let's get up. Y'all can see. The light's not so good right there. But the Amaze Fit T-Rex. And the numbers are off because of the stopping and walking. It's just, but this morning, and the app on my phone, I didn't look at it, see the last time I charged it, but I bet it's about 4 or 5 days. And it had 22% left. And I pretty much only use it for running. But then it's on all the time, you know. So the ultimate goal with rechargeable devices is when you actually think about recharging it, like, oh, I wonder if I should recharge my watch. It's still got reserve left. That's what you want. And that's what I hit. So, pretty good. I just saw a deer down at the end of this road. He tore my ring finger up trying to chase a deer. Pulled on the leash so hard it flew out of my hand. And my ring is actually a bicycle chain. It's really cool. But it dug into my finger and tore it, and now it still hurts. The abrasion. But also we went by an apartment complex. And people walk their dogs right outside the apartment complex. And it was constant stopping, and peeing. To where the point I had to drag them. So we're gonna have to circumvent that. All right, look at that sunrise. Look at it. Look at it. And it's a little bit cooler this morning. Somebody behind me. But I thought I'd show real quick. When you run with water bottles with a little bit of drippy top, oh, I need to clean the top of that. You can dribble. You just open the top and then tap on your head. River, come on, let's go. And it lets out this tiny dribble of water. And if you've got waterproof headphones, definitely water resistant helps, but waterproof are better. And you get this cooling effect on your head. That really, really helps. It's nice. He's checking out something. So, also, along with this run route, runs mostly east-west, and it's perfect because if the wind's out of the south, then it's going to be hot and humid because it's coming off the Gulf of Mexico. It's really hot and humid if the wind's out of the south. So, the more I have a cross breeze, then I have more miles and miles and miles and miles with at least a cross breeze. A tailwind is the worst. So yeah, I could run south into the wind, but then I could turn around and run north with it. And that sucks. But then also running in that office park's interesting. And then that dirt road, I got another little dirt road. There's some vultures up there too. But yeah, he's got his eye on him. The variety of a run course, instead of being looking behind me, make sure there's no cars coming since it's getting louder, and makes the run go by really fast compared to just the same environment. So like office park, asphalt, through some woods, dirt roads, all mixed up back and forth down a boulevard. Ooh, dead armadillo. Oh, okay. Those are what we call turkey buzzards, or type of vulture. If a buzzard is a vulture, it's the same thing. I had a friend visiting me from New York. We were riding together. And she was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's probably a dead wild pig," which is more interesting because you see these vultures all the time. And so she's like, "No, those." I was like, "Oh, they're vultures are called turkey buzzards down here because of the size of a turkey." She goes, "They're huge." And I'm like, "Yeah, they are." You see them circling overhead. They've got, it's not just roadkill. I mean, they'll be out in the middle, you'll be out in the woods or in a field and you'll see vultures circling. And if you're a farmer or a rancher, that means you've got a dead animal somewhere out there. You gotta go find it. And it's funny when you run really long distances and you start looking really bad, they start hovering in the trees and hanging around, kind of like waiting for you. It seems like. And if you take a break on the side of the road on the bike and sit down, I've seen it. It's not often, but I've seen it. They'll start circling and be like, it's like they're waiting on you. And you're like, "Is this for real? Like, I'm like out in the desert, you know, I'm gonna be vulture food?" And they're like, "Maybe, I guess so." It's pretty wild. It's a bad sign. You're not doing all that well. You should hydrate, keep moving. Don't fall asleep or you'll wake up with one pecking at your face, maybe. All right, let's go. Look at that sunrise. I just did something smart. There's a car up ahead. Y'all can't see it now because he's driving into the sun. And I was running, and I need to run on the right side of the road for my right knee. If I run on the left side, it jacks my knee up until there's a car coming behind me. And he's driving into the blinding sun. So I got completely off the road into the grass. We had a local cyclist that was a local favorite in the community, and he got hit and killed down the road over here. The car couldn't see him. They were driving into the sun. We got a ghost bike set up for him. So yeah. Gotta watch out for vehicles looking into the sun. They can't see you. Doesn't matter who's at fault after you're dead. Okay, now I got the sun to our back. Cars can see us really well. But I wanted to mention, I'm making a video series on how to train like an endurance monk. Now, monk is where you're giving up everything and it's all you do. And you can do it for long periods of time. But also it brings a sense of tranquility and nirvana. So what I want to do is answer questions, because I've been doing it for a long, long time, 20 something years, I guess. So if you send me your questions, comment on the video, and it would be things like, do you eat? How much do you drink? Or do you listen to music, or do you listen to podcasts, or do you listen to nothing? There are actually real answers to all those questions. And I would love to answer them, make for some really good back and forth show content. So, do you let your dog stop and sniff? Well, yeah. Why is two things at once? I'm going to tell you right now, doing two things at once is a version of nirvana. And that may confuse people, because then that's multitasking, but there's a different type of multitasking. So if you want me to answer that, let me know. Car back. Let's go over to the back. All right, big question. Will he want to do the out and back, even though we're getting close to home and it's hot? And last time I didn't think he would, but then he did. And my theory is because it's a wooded trail, dirt road. It's interesting. So he wants to go sniff it and check it out. So we'll see. If this becomes a pattern, then we can add it on the way back, which I'd like, because it's got a hill in it. And I'd rather do that towards the end instead of right at the beginning, less than half a mile in, throwing in a hill before I really get warmed up. So let's see. And he's going. Oh, we're having fun. It's about to turn really rough stuff. Gotta watch out on these blind turns though. With a red blinky light on his collar still comes in handy even though it's daylight. Car will see him before I'll see the car. Also, I highly recommend the retractable leash and the one with the string, even though it's more prone to wrapping around something and cutting your skin. It's lightweight and it gives them 15 feet or something of range to go explore. So you get the middle path of he's both on a leash, but also the freedom of off the leash. And it's retractable and a thumb thing to pull it in and then lock it down. Got it at PetSmart. This is the one for 50-pound dogs or so, like medium, large dogs. And it's light enough to carry. And then it trains you so that you can carry a water bottle if you need to when you're running and you're used to actually carrying something in your hand. You get used to it, it's no big deal. Yep, did it, no problem. All the way to the end of the road, we've turned around, we're coming back. And for example, there was an orange tomcat past the end of the road. It dead ends in somebody's house. And it puffed up all sideways, went poof. And he was like, But that's the kind of stuff that you might see if you go to the end of the road. And then he can check out sniffs. So yeah, seems to like it. We may have something here. All right, we've got a route. Come on. We're 6.02 miles, but who's counting? At the bottom of our street, we can walk the rest of the way up. And the last third was, well, the first 2/3 was either flat or downhill. Very, very minor. It was a slow grade uphill on part of it. So, yeah, and that's the way you want to do it. And then you can choose how hard to go at the end. You can use those hills for intervals. Interval work, go hard at the end, or you can jog them easy or walk them and make it a harder run depending on how you're feeling. You want to start out running and then go by feel to see like, okay, is this going to be an interval day or not, based on how quickly you warm up, how good you're feeling. And running downhill is actually almost always good because it's that eccentric, I think is what it's called, eccentric loading. The impact of running downhill is what keeps your legs from cramping up when you run really long distances and there's downhills in it that really start to hurt when you run downhill. And so if you mix that in with your running all the time, then you can delay that. But it takes like no energy to do it. So you could do that towards the beginning. So downhill at first, uphill at the end. All right, blood test time, bye. All right, what I did here was take the rest of the audio from the beginning of the show that was kind of dragging out before all the really cool stuff like heading out on the bike, and I cut it off and then put it after us talking right now. And it's about how I got the backyard pool set up and how I was doing it and all that stuff. And there's pictures of that up on Instagram. So it's the most boring part of the show, so I put it at the very end so you can listen to all the fun stuff first. I take care of you guys.
And I think that's about it. I don't remember everything I said at it, in it, on it, whatever. But I do want to mention, if I did not mention it at the end of this next part, and it's probably about 15 minutes long, 10 minutes long, of how I did the backyard pool stuff. Definitely check out patreon.com/c/zentry, and it may or may not have a C in it. I'll have to go double check. But anyway, to support the show, $4 a month, and get some show support coming in here, which makes the show a whole lot easier to keep alive and keep the content coming. All right. And email me your questions. I'm texafornia@gmail.com. All right. Enjoy the rest of the audio of me talking about the back of the pool, and then catch you on the next episode. Go check out the YouTube channel. It's at Zen and the Art of Endurance, or Zen Endurance with Coach Brett. And yeah, that's it. All right. Enjoy the rest, and work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out. Okay. This morning I swam in my backyard pool before we get to the biking and running with the video accoutrement. I swam in my backyard pool because I went to the pool the other morning to swim, and I got so mad, but I was half mad at myself because of the I should have known, because there was a sign. I just didn't look as closely at the dates as I should have, and the pool's closed for like 10 days, and it's just frustration on top of frustration, because we only have one pool in this town, and I've fought for years to try to get a second pool, and we've had more pools, and they close, and trying to get non-swimmers to build a second pool for the community, which is what it takes, is so difficult, because they don't understand. They go, well, there's a park. Like, yeah, that's nice. You know, they don't get it about how awesome it is to have lap lanes. And also, how many people really, really want it. And they're like, well, we don't see anybody. And it's like, well, yeah, because you don't have any facilities to show them doing it. Okay, I'm gonna get off that tangent. That's not very zen to get all upset about that. So the thing is, improvise, adapt, overcome, is I put together a tether system. I did this actually quite a few years back, and swam in our tiny little backyard pool. And the reason that we moved to our house was it has a backyard pool, and I was like, oh, we could put in one of those swim lane things, you know, the motorized thing that generates a current. And by the time we got done buying the house and moving in, we just didn't have the money to buy, by the time you do it, seriously, it's somewhere between 10 and 15 grand just to drop one in at the end of the pool. And then you have to heat the pool, and I don't know, just didn't get around to doing it. So there's this thing where you can tie yourself to the end of the pool and swim. And there's devices you can buy that do it, I was like, crap, dude, I'll just figure out my own. And because we have some posts that are sticking up, and I tied off to a post. And the trick is you have to tie off a little bit higher than you would think, and that way it pulls you, because you're not swimming forward, you're just swimming in place, you can kind of sink. So you want it tied off kind of high up, sort of higher than you'd think, let's say like 4 feet off the ground. And then you want some elasticity in the tether, and that way it gives a little bit, and then it's not tugging as hard around your waist, and it's not like as sharply, you know, because it's got some give. And then also, what else? I don't know. It makes the swim feel a little bit more realistic whenever you're pulling and you move forward a little bit. And then, you also want to have some adjustability in the length of the strap, because you think you want it the certain length while you're doing it, but actually you want it a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. And as I've mentioned a million times, I used to be an Eagle Scout, and I can tie knots. I can tie adjustable slip knots. They're called taut line hitches. And I can get some parachute cord and tie myself off, and then use a bike inner tube is what the thing I've used this time instead of a bungee cord, and some carabiners, and I found for me a pull buoy between the ankles, and then tie the strap that I've got with clips. And also you just want to have several clips in your system. That way you can quickly detach at any place when you turn around and want to disconnect for whatever reason. It's just handy. So I've got a carabiner at the post, a carabiner at the strap, and then a carabiner in the middle of the strap, and a carabiner at the ankles. And for endurance swimming, if you're already a cyclist and a runner, you don't really need to kick. And actually, you're trying to learn not to kick so that you swim more efficiently with less effort. So by the time you're done with the swim, you can hop on the bike and your legs aren't blown out already from kicking too hard. And so tying yourself off at the knees or the ankles is actually pretty great. And then it just works your upper body. So anyway, I got in, and the water's perfect temperature, actually a little bit warm, and swam for an hour, and I did 12 minutes 5 times, and I would do 10 minutes freestyle, and let's see, 1 to 2 minutes butterfly, which is extremely difficult to figure out how to do when you're tethered, I have to admit. And then, because there's a flow definitely to butterfly that requires, some forward movement to really help. And then, let's see, I actually really enjoyed it. It worked pretty good. And there's those things when you try something new, you got to be careful, because you might start doing it. You might realize it's better than the old way, Now, when it gets really cold and the pool water gets cold, then in Texas, that's longer into the fall and earlier in the spring than most places. So you could swim outdoors a lot longer. And then you're making good use of this backyard pool, which costs money to run anyway. And yeah, I liked it a lot. And then I don't have to drive to the pool and be around people fighting for lanes and all that other stuff. And I'm right there at my shower and at home. There's all these upsides, if you could swim it in your own backyard. The only thing is you don't have metrics per se. You have to go by feel, which is totally fine, but it's still handy. I think I would go swim in a pool on occasion. Anyway, if I swim in my backyard all the time, I would still go swim in a pool. But it was very much more like open water swimming, in that you have to swim easier than you'd think if you're used to lap swimming, because there is no stopping to turn. And every time you stop to turn, you get a little break in your shoulders, and you don't really know that until you're swimming open water and you're like exhausted. And this is the exact same thing. And so knowing that, it's like not lifting weights for a long time and then going and lifting weights. You got to be really gentle your first time. And knowing that, I just swam easy. And towards the end, it started. I nailed it pretty good. And at the end, I pushed it a little bit, and that's all I needed. And the time just flew by, especially because I was listening to music. And there was one last part. Let me think what it was. Oh, I remember what it was. I've done an Ironman where I did the swim that way, but let me talk about that in a second. Downside of not swimming in a pool, of course, there's always benefit to community. It was at the pool the other day where I talked to a friend that had seen my Instagram post that my other friend Gary and I crashed due to a pothole, and he works for the DOT, Department of Transportation, and told them about that. And he and I talked, and the pothole's actually fixed now, see? And then, so yeah, there's things that you, just by talking and being around people, you communicate more things, and you can live a longer, healthier life, but instead of being a hermit, essentially doing everything on your own all the time. So it's good to be at a pool and be around other people. But anyway, one time was it the beginning of the pandemic? I don't know what it was, something, and it was kind of cold. Yeah, and I think maybe our pool, the Bryan Aquatic Center pool, was closed, maybe because of the pandemic. And I swam for an hour. I remember it was really cold. Oh, maybe disoriented, it was so cold. Yeah, so it was in the fall or winter. And so I wore a wetsuit, but still. I did the tethered swim in the backyard, swam an hour, and then did 112 miles on Zwift, which is very realistic. And then I went out and ran a marathon, I think. I feel like I didn't do the whole thing, and I don't remember why, but I know I definitely did the swim and at least most of the bike. So it's kind of like I did an indoor Ironman of sorts. I think maybe the run was outdoors. And for the, you don't know how far you swim, but you just know by effort and time. I know that if I swim pretty hard and very efficiently in a wetsuit, that I can do the Ironman swim in an hour. And so I swam about that hard when I did the backyard pool thing. And when I hit an hour, I got out, and I just assumed, it was 2.4 miles just from experience. And, the other thing, and then we'll wrap this up and get onto the bike and the run, is the pool gets choppy, and you got to be careful, or else you can get seasick. So that limitation makes you careful to swim gracefully and smoothly and not wildly all over the place. And that is a good thing to reduce chop, because it's a small pool with hard walls. And I mentioned on the video, you can go watch the video of my setup, sort of. I'm not swimming with it, but you can kind of get an idea. And on Instagram, like I said. And I mentioned that if you could, in the middle part of the pool, along the edges of the middle part of the pool, drop in, if I could acquire from somebody old lane rope that a pool is getting rid of or get for cheap, and just drop that in on the edge of the pool on the days that I swim in the pool to absorb the chop around the edge. Then, or I could just get used to it, and we'll see. All right, I think that is about it. All right, let's go ahead and get on the bike and go for an evening gravel ride. And it's a really nice ride. And let's, I just see a car. It looks like my wife's car, but it's towing a U-Haul trailer. She better not be moving out. That's funny. That's what her car looks like. That's what she would look like if she was U-Hauling off somewhere. Anyway, take you with me.